This is Steven Mead. For most people, just another bypasser at an international airport. But for some, he's more. Steven travels around the world for his job.
And then I come back and then I go Easter Saturday to a CD recording in Paris. And then on the Monday I fly to Beijing. My life is a little crazy, you know? A little crazy, how you say? Because every week is different.
In 2011 he went to Switzerland, the Netherlands, Spain, Malta, Germany, the United States a couple of times, Latvia, China, Peru, Austria, and he also did some work in his home country, England. And then we're only at the end of June. Italy, Austria, Lithuania, Spain, the United States, Russia and Japan are scheduled for the rest of the year.
So I've become a gypsy who has a very nice house but likes traveling. On one day I will stop, but not yet.
Steven Mead is the world's most famous euphonium player.
And so if I ever wrote an autobiography, it will be called You Play a What? Like that. You play a what? Works in different languages. You play a what? You play a what? Euphonium. Or as they say in some countries, Euphonium.
Mead visited the Netherlands in February for a short 2-day visit to give masterclasses. In the train on the way to his masterclasses, he spoke about his biggest love, the euphonium.
It's just the most beautiful musical instrument in the world. It's the instrument that has soul. It's the closest brass instrument to the human voice. It's one of the closest musical instruments to the human voice. It's an instrument that people can fall in love with as soon as they hear it. And that's pretty amazing considering that most people don't know it at all. It's capable of great power, unbelievable softness. It can play very virtuosically. It can play in a classical style with a great tone. It can play traditional sound with brass band, complete with kind of Italian singing vibrato. And all the time I find myself telling people about it who don't know what it is. People that know it, and people who love it, they never forget it.
People not knowing the instrument leads to funny situations.
When I checked in at Birmingham Airport, as about 1 in 3 times, they say, we need to look at your instrument. We've seen something strange on the X-ray. Okay, and I know what it is, because you've got three valves here and you've got the 4th one here. And this little sly 4th valve confuses the hell out of them. So I got it out, and of course it's all very shiny and lovely for this weekend. And the woman said, can you play it? Oh, yeah, I can play it. I just carry 3 kilograms of metal around just for fun. Of course I can play it. She said, well, could you play it now? Yes. So I said, what would you like? And she said, oh, it's my mum's birthday. So I said, right, this is for your mum. And everyone went, it all went quiet, and everybody clapped at the end. And then I walked another 20 meters, and there was a rather serious looking guy with a big police badge saying, I'm a policeman. And he kind of stopped me, he said, and now I want you to play me something classical. Oh, what would you like? How about... I said, well, that's Horn Concerto, Mozart. Yes. Can you play it? I said, yes. What key would you like it in? Well, I'm glad that he didn't give me a proper answer because I only know it in 1 key. So I played it in C. And his face lit up. And then he started telling me about how much he loved music. He actually started singing Italian opera. I wish I'd had a film crew with me then. This guy with a police badge, enthusing about the joys of opera, and he has lessons with somebody at Warwick University, and he met so many musicians, and he was talking about a violinist, a girl who he also asked to play, and he was talking about how she became in another world, and so it was quite a nice musical afternoon, which is better than most of the experiences I get. I was at Schiphol Airport once, leaving Schiphol, and my instrument went through the X-ray, and this woman looked at it and she said, "Oh, it's a piano. It's a piano." And I said, "Yes."
Steven Mead has been an ambassador for the Euphonium for the last 30 years. Despite the fact that the Euphonium was unwanted at the conservatory at the time Mead attended it.
I left school in 1980, left high school, and I applied to the Royal Academy of Music in London, and they said they would accept me on tuba if I changed, but not euphonium. So yeah, when I left school, it wasn't possible to study euphonium. So I went to university, got a degree, started teaching in a high school, and then my secret life as a euphonium player was allowed to fester away for the next 8-9 years. You do have a relationship with an instrument, you know, and so, like any good friendship or double act, you have to cultivate that. And so sometimes I mean, it's kind of practice for practice sake. But I'll say tomorrow and every day when you stand in front of people, they see that relationship. And the nicest thing anyone ever says is, it felt like the instrument was part of you.
Still, for most euphonium players, making a living of it is hard, even today.
I play euphonium, I love it, and I play trombone to make money. I've heard that thousands of times, and that's okay.
But isn't it frustrating?
Yeah, hugely frustrating. And you know, the only reason that we have this frustration at all is that when the symphony orchestra was finalized, somewhere at the end of the 19th century, they decided to go for a bigger tuba to sit next to the trombones, rather than, as I believe they should have done, is have a trombone section, a euphonium and a tuba, so that the euphonium as a solo instrument in the orchestra could have been a solo alternative sound to the French horn, conical, singing, open sound. You could have had a very powerful doubling with the tuba.
But the euphonium never made it to the symphony orchestra.
That's a little bit tragic with the euphonium. I encounter so many good players and young players. And where can they go, you know? Where can they earn a living? That's actually the most terrible thing. Like a tuba player, it's also hard to get in a symphony orchestra, but at least you have, you know, some opportunities. And then euphonium, it's the military wind bands, and then maybe, you know, solo career or in the brass band scene. But that's pretty limited. So I think it's kind of tragic. You see so many good players.
Still, Steven is positive on the future of the instrument.
There are now, around the world, in every country, 2 or 3 really important ambassadors for the euphonium. Commission pieces, play with bands, play with orchestras, teach. So the future of that instrument is actually in their hands. So, well, there's still a lot to do, as I say. I'm now starting to do some teaching in China, and there's thousands of euphonium players who play really badly because there's no specialist tuition at all. But they want to play well, like the Japanese 30 years ago. They started opening up to want to know how to play. And the Japanese players are fantastic these days. Arching of the tongue, so we go from ah to oo.
What does Steven mean for you?
Of course, you know, it's like a phenomenon. And I remember when I played euphonium, So I started off with Euphonium. He was already around, you know. He was already the name. So imagine that, you know, that was like 20, 25 years ago.
An R sound. But my dream was to have a living where I could travel and play euphonium. And so my dream is to keep doing that for a long time. It depends on health and all that kind of stuff. I would like to do some more concerts with major symphony orchestras. I mean, for me, that's a big dream. And playing with orchestra is such a great feeling. So in 2012, I'm gonna come up, I hope, with a 50th birthday album, and I want to have one concerto with a symphony orchestra, 2 or 3 with some of the great wind orchestras of the world, 1 or 2 with some of the best brass bands in the world, and come up with an album, maybe even a double album that is a combination of my life's work to that point. We're really excited to do that.
For Mead fans who fear he will quit after turning 50, he won't.
Somebody asked me when I was 24, how long can you keep up this schedule? And I said, well, I'm going to quit when I'm 40. And when I became 40, I quietly forgot that I ever thought that, because I was enjoying it so much. So I'm enjoying it at 48. So let me make a prediction. In 10 years' time, if I'm still enjoying it, I won't quit. If I am enjoying it and I really play badly, somebody needs to remember this conversation, tap me on the shoulder and say, it's time, and I'll quit. But to be honest, while I'm still enjoying it, and I think that's the key thing, I mean, it's a real hassle traveling with the instrument, a real harder and harder, and God knows what it's going to be like if there's another terrorist attack on an airport in the next 2 or 3 years, and all traveling with big instruments is forbidden, banned. My career will stop. So I'm in the hands of other people, actually, in terms of that.